right, good morning. It's another time on the agenda. Welcome to the agenda on Dominion Brokers Group. I am Chike Ubogu. Today on the agenda, we'll be tackling a critical issue facing our continent, Africa. And that critical issue is leadership failure in Africa and the gullibility of the followers. We'll dive into why leadership so often fails and why followers enable it and how we can break this cycle. But before then, the leadership of the Academic Staff Union of Universities has confirmed that a directive has been issued for all branches of the union nationwide to withdraw their services over the delay in the payment of June 2025 salaries to its members, citing the enforcement of no pay, no work resolution. ASU branches in two federal universities, the University of Jos and the University of Abuja, have already commenced strike actions in compliance with the directive. President of ASU, Professor Chris Piuna, who confirmed the development on Monday in Abuja, said what the institutions are doing is simply enforcing a National Executive Council resolution of the union that any month in which salaries are delayed beyond 3 days, members should withdraw their services until the salaries are paid. Interesting. Piuna lamented the lackadaisical attitude of government officials towards the issue of lecturers' salaries, which he described as a paltry amount. Joining me this morning to discuss this and many more is our in-house analyst and a development researcher, John Izuchukwu. Good morning. Good to have you again.
Good morning, Chike. Good morning, Nigeria.
ASU on it again. Conditions. Well, delay our salary for 3 days, we go on strike.
Yes. I think the issue we're having today is the unresolved, ASU federal government brouhaha over the years. And towards the tail end of the Mr. Buhari's administration, also was dealt with very severely. They reduced the association to a mere toothless bull. And unfortunately so, ASU is factionally divided. And so they do not have one voice, particularly since the inception of this government. And so you will ask, shouldn't ASU be patriotic, since that's what they do? I mean, they are the one molding future leaders in our universities. Should they be the one to disrupt academic processes? But again, check how much a professor earns in Nigeria. It's far less than $500. The last time I checked was about 416,000 naira. And with that same paltry amount, that same meager amount, you still don't pay them. And these are supposed to be the knowledge incubators and the knowledge producers. And no country drives towards advancement or development beyond the level of knowledge produced. You don't fund research. You don't pay them well. The university learning condition is terrible. So I think that it is a big disservice to our nation. And again, I check, when you ask what exactly is APC's philosophy of education? Because I remember vividly when LASU, for instance, was 25,000 naira. And the then governor, Mr. Raji Fashola, SCN, moved the school fees from 25 to 250,000 naira. And there are several Nigerians who could not afford it. They dropped out of school. So I asked myself, what APC philosophy? And they've been one that says, education, universal education particularly, is not for the poor. The poor should go to technical schools. The universal education is not for the poor. And it seems as if they are driving towards, privatizing the federal universities. Because at the end of the day, what they want to achieve is to make life unbearable for those who are teaching there. And then they throw up an option, for instance, and say, let's privatize it. At the end of the day, the child of the have-not will not be able to acquire university education. And you know what that means? What that means is that in the scheme of things nationally, your chances are slim. The chances are slim because education gives you, like Nelson Mandela said, the strongest weapon to liberate a people. The strongest weapon to liberate people's mind is education. And if you are making it difficult for those who are supposed to be there, you are killing their morale. They will not be motivated to do the job. And so what do you expect to be the outcome? You'll be transferring aggression. There will be several kind of, ineptitude in terms of leadership within the university system will begin to show because people are no longer interested. They're just doing it to get the pay. Because there are no incentives surrounding what they do to make learning and teaching, memorable and interesting.
All right. One of the resolutions during the National Executive Council meeting of ASUU is that any month in which salaries are delayed beyond 3 days, members should withdraw their services until the salaries are paid. Well, is that not too stringent?
It's not chicken.
Okay.
As I speak with you, I think 2 or 3 months of ASUU salary during the former administration is still not paid till today.
Yeah, the no work, no pay.
So if the government had done that to them, it's reciprocal. They should do the same. You can't reduce intelligentials to beggars. No country does that. And it has been argued over and over again that this new system of payment that they brought in is more or less giving food to the boys. They know what they are doing that is unfair. All over the world, university systems have a way they are managed. They're not integrated directly into the national salary scheme in a way. Because it's kind of specialized sector. The people need to be if a man has not eaten well, he can't afford to fuel his car. We want him to sit down and do research. For who? It's not a man who is coordinated that can think through the rigorous process of doing a research. And when you continue to do formulate policies and implement policies outside of empirical evidences, you will keep having this mess we're having as a country.
All right, let's set the agenda for that. From the end of government and from the end of ASUU, what do you think government should do to, avert maybe a potential industrial action from ASUU?
Chike, let me state that it is not difficult for government to do. It's so unfortunate that most of the senators and former governors now own universities. And they are working towards a point where they will collapse the entire federal universities.
They're looking at demystifying public institutions.
They want to collapse
and enhance private
universities.
Okay.
So that the child of the have-not. And what they want to create is an almighty upper class. And millions of the downtrodden.
The effect on the Nigerian state.
On the Nigerians. So the government should see it as a matter of urgency to attend to ASUU issue. We can't afford to stay at home. And they don't know that these things have security effect. If they shut down universities, young people go back home, they are readily tools that can be used by hungry politicians. And that will be inimical to our development at this point in time. However, ASUU should remember that we are building a nation.
Okay.
And we all have contribution to make. We all have sacrifices to make. Nigeria is bigger than anyone. Nigeria is more important than the people in government today. Leadership is transient. They are going to leave. They should just, understand that if this is a sacrifice they need to make to keep things going for Nigerian students, they should make it. However, government should switch into action and attend to ASUU very quickly. Because, government, your SSAs, your PAs are being paid. Why should you keep the intelligentials, stranded?
Anyway, we'll move on from there. Suspended lawmaker representing Kogi Central Senatorial District, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, has threatened to attend plenary today. The upper chamber is, however, bracing for a showdown and insisted that it would not take any official action on the matter until the review of the certified true copy of the court's pronouncement. Akpoti-Uduaghan has told her jubilant supporters in a video trending on social media that she would resume her legislative activities in the Red Chamber today. A federal high court sitting in Abuja had on Friday nullified the 6-month suspension slammed on Akpoti-Uduaghan by the Senate. The court declared that the 6-month suspension imposed on her was excessive, unconstitutional, and an infringement on the rights of her constituents, and ordered that she be recalled from suspension. To you, John, what do you expect today? Another distraction in the polity, or you see a drama ensuing in the Senate this morning?
I think it will be a beautiful drama to watch.
A beautiful drama.
You see, because like we said yesterday, the right of individuals is one of the pivotal, yardstick to measure development. You cannot suppress the right of a sitting senator elected by her people. So, if the Senate is honorable, as they claim, they should honor the judgment of the court. It's still their judiciary. So if the judiciary has given a pronouncement, the only way to show that we are practicing democracy, constitutional democracy at that, is that the Senate should take the lead and swallow their pride. However, I also think that the senator in question should not, create some unnecessary media sensation out of it. Because looking at it by and large, the Nigerian politicians can be sided. You can't take side with any one of them. They are all playing, they know the game, and they're playing it, the way they understand it. So we are just onlookers, bystanders, trying to look at, interpret what they are doing. But by and large, I think that they should obey the court injunction and allow her come back. But if she's trying to make a drama out of it, I also think that that's
Well, the drama would already be featuring coming to the house, showing up.
But the Senate is supposed to respond, probably by writing her, officially inviting her over for the Senate, for plenary and all of that. So she also should take some time. Okay,
so the Senate suspended her for 6 months.
For 6 months.
And then the court is saying resume immediately.
So the court is supposed to send the certified true copy to the Senate. And the Senate will review it and see whether they are going to appeal the case or start a fresh case or whatever the case may be.
What then is the case?
My brother, it's unfortunate that we are discussing sexual harassment at the level of the
in 2025
of the Senate chamber, where you're supposed to have the best of brains gathered together to make laws that will advance Nigeria. We're almost lost with the kind of leaders we have today in Nigeria.
Well, let's have a deep conversation this morning. So grab your coffee or your tea, settle in, and let's get started. All right. Defining leadership failure in Africa. When we talk about leadership failure in Africa, what are we really talking about? It is not just one bad decision or one corrupt official, is it? Is that what it is about leadership failure? What then is it, John?
Yes. Leadership failure is the accumulation of several decisions and choices made, poor choices made, uninformed choices made, that leads to weak institutions, that leads to corruption, that leads to, structural violences that undermine the growth and potentials of individuals within a sovereign state. Failure in processes that gives only a few and makes them too privileged and reduces others into a condition or situation where they are perpetually subservient to that few. So leadership failure is a very broad matter. It means that we have wrong people in position who have made poor choices, made poor decisions over the years cumulatively.
You know, the illustration you just gave now seemed to be that of a system of government called oligarchy, where the people are subservient to the leaders there. Now, are you saying oligarchy has failed as a system of government?
If it was working, there was no way we would have had democracy.
But we have it in the north, northern part of Nigeria.
Well, yes, you see, what we have in Nigeria is democracy. What they practice sectionally is to, revere the religious leader. Like, for instance, now the Sultan of Sokoto is both the religious leader and the political head in the north. It's more religious in that practice. Is to bring all honor and obeisance to one person, and it calls the shot. But in a democratic arrangement like we have it universally in Nigeria, when you look at leadership, it must be the people that give it to you. You're holding it in trust. So you are making decisions on behalf of the people. You're taking choices on behalf of the people. So it is not about you. And that's why we say that the Senate is fast becoming a marketplace.
A theater of laughter.
It's becoming a marketplace because it's supposed to be the guardian of intelligentsias, the guardian of thinkers, of opinion holders, of thought leaders who sit down and think about 50, 100 years ahead and make projections.
Before we move on a lighter note, I just want to ask you, what's the minimum qualification of becoming a senator?
Is secondary school. Even in primary 6.
Oh, okay.
Because our former president could not produce his O-level result, so primary 6 will get you in there.
All right, that was just on a lighter note, But let's move on. Let's ground this with an example. Nigeria, for instance, had some promises at independence: oil wealth, a vibrant population. Yet, the World Bank says over 40% of Nigerians live below the poverty line in 2025. John, what's driving this gap between potential and reality?
Just like Chinua Achebe said, the problem with Nigeria is leadership. Chike, leadership changes everything. You make economic policies. You don't need to be an economist. You bring expert. What leadership does is to assemble together the right brains that can deal with it. That can deal with economic issues. Leadership, you don't bring in your sentiment or your primordial prejudices and your religious mindset into it. It is about who can do the job. So when you say we have economic issues and we need to deal with it, you look for the best brain across board. Because what leadership does is to go in search of those who can do the job. You are to lead them. You are to you have the vision. Because that's what leadership is. It's about knowing the end goal and leading people to get there.
Yeah. But rather, what we're seeing on ground, especially what I just said now about Nigeria.
Yes.
The promises pre-independence and even on Independence Day. Now, these were potentials.
Exactly.
However, the difference between the potentials and reality today
is leadership.
Leadership.
Is leadership. Nothing special. Because what would you, if you have today a visionary leader to lead us, you will find out that Nigeria is too blessed, that none of us should be poor. But we have not been gifted or blessed with leaders who are selfless. What we have is self-centered people snatching positions to enrich themselves, and they find joy in seeing the other Nigerians go on the street naked. They see children go to school in places like Makoko under, very terrible situation. They find joy in seeing people suffering, and then they can continue to lord over them and command them at their terms and conditions. Because leadership is supposed to guide people to fulfill their own potentials. And when people fulfill their potentials, you were all better when we are all big.
So when you blame it on leadership too, are you also looking at corruption?
No. You see, now, corruption, weakness of institutional weaknesses and all of that, they are the effect or the outcome of leadership failure. Okay. It's when leadership fails that you have corruption. And you see, you cannot have corruption without the leaders being corrupt.
Okay, so many African countries inherited colonial power.
Yeah.
And they centralized that power. And leaders, most of these people we call leaders in Africa today, never reformed these systems. Do you think this non-reformation is what is even taking leadership down to the doldrums?
Yes. Ali Mazrui, in his book titled Africa and the Tripod of Leadership Heritage, he highlighted colonialism, he highlighted Western influence and Islamic influence on the continent of Africa as to why we have continued to move around this cycle. Now, I refer to that book to say that the impact of colonialism is huge. There are two schools of thought. The Ibadan History School of Thought says some persons believe, the Adia School of Thought believes that certainly the impact of colonialism is huge and is why we continue this way. Other school of thought also believe that you cannot continue to cry over a spilt milk. You cannot continue to weep for 60-something years, 100 years, some countries 50 years. Colonialism is gone. What do you do? And that's where leadership comes in. We cannot continue to weep that we were forcefully colonized. Our people were taken into slavery. Our resources were taken to go build other countries. Yes, we know it happened. But since we have been given independence, even though in some countries it's not been full independence, like in the 14 Francophone countries colonized by France, they've not had full independence because their central bank is still run from France. France still determine what they do, largely. But in other countries like Africa, like Nigeria, for instance, most of the Western African countries, what has failed over the years is that we have failed to move away from our failures, from our past, and build a future. Because, Chike, one thing that is constant is change. Because your father couldn't send you to school is not enough reason for which you will not have a university education. People still strive through thick and thin to get it. Because you come from a poor family does not mean you are going to end up poor. So you need to chart your own course, define your own path. But what has happened to us as Africans is that we have continued to blame the West, blame religion, blame colonialism on our predicament. That's not enough.
Now let's come to ourselves now. And when you look at Africa as a whole and a case study of Nigeria, political appointees are often rewarded based on loyalty, not based on competence. Is that also a factor for leadership failure?
Chike, you cannot, you see, if we need this phone fixed, whether you are an Igbo person, a Bira person, or you're a Fulani person, is immaterial. It's who is able to fix this phone. So what we're saying is, we need leaders who will not bring in sentiment into such appointments and who will not promote ethnic bigotry and prejudices. Do you understand? So we need leaders who will look at, we have a problem to fix security. Who can fix it? irrespective of party affiliation.
Well, and it's not just Nigeria. Zimbabwe was once the breadbasket of Southern Africa. But decades after mismanagement under Robert Mugabe and his successor led to the economic collapse. Remember the hyperinflation that hit 79 billion% in 2008? John, is this about bad leaders or is there something deeper?
Yes. Again, just like our guest yesterday said, when leadership shows direction, every other person follows. If you have a wasteful leader, everybody under you will behave wasteful. And that's why the person of former Governor Peter Obi, people that worked under him felt the man was stingy. He was too shrewd a politician. They've not seen that kind of politician. You know, there's a slang in here. People say politicians are buje budanu. You know what that means?
No.
You have enough to eat and throw around.
Oh, okay.
So,
wasteful.
I mean, give to anybody that comes around. Just heal them, tell them what they want to hear. You get something.
Okay.
And the former late Abiola said, if you want to become a billionaire overnight, do business with government. So it's an established fact that how to become rich quickly is to have things to be, to do with government. So when people look at issues of national interest and they bring in their brothers and sisters or their tribesman or their village man, what you will get eventually is that that sector, if that person is not competent, it will go down the drain. So economic challenges we're having in Nigeria today is not because there are no persons who can solve the problem. These problems are not rocket science. Is that for instance now, I do not believe that Mr. Wale Edun, for instance, is supposed to be in that office. I believe that there are younger Nigerians. You see, it was unfortunate that this present government, for instance, brought the same old Tinubu boys who are out of touch. They may be good in the early 1999 to 2003 and all of that when they were with him, in AD as governor of Lagos State. But those guys are out of touch. We need people who are younger Nigerians who can solve this problem. But they may not be within the ambit of a political party.
But they're experienced. You can buy experience.
Chike, you see.
You can buy experience.
You see, you can be experienced and outdated.
Okay, experienced
and
outdated.
We're talking of people who are in vogue, who will be devise innovative approach.
Yeah, but they were loyal. So are you talking about, are you seeing an issue of compensationary appointment?
That is, you can give them some, you can give them some portfolio to massage their ego. Just like our guest said yesterday, dignified exile.
Okay.
Give them some ego.
You take them on
keep them somewhere, let them enjoy themselves. Okay. But if we are going to solve this critical problem we have right now, you need more younger persons who can walk around the clock.
There was a certain governor, former governor of Kogi State, who was a young guy and was he was elected to run the affairs of Kogi State. However, you and I know what happened at the end of the day. That's a perfect, an empirical example of a young person
even
in government.
Even at that, you cannot generalize using that isolated variable.
I'm just saying that that's an empirical example.
That's why I'm saying that even in let's go empirical too.
Okay.
We cannot take that case as an isolated case and make a case for everybody.
Okay.
Yahya Bello, former governor of Kogi State,
okay,
who has a case with EFCC, is in the know of everybody. What happened was that is his person. That's not the average Nigerian youth. We have younger persons in government who did well. Remember, I don't know if you remember this guy, Frank Wike Jr., who was Minister for
Communication.
Information.
Yeah.
Under former President Olusegun,
Yeah.
that guy, I looked up to NTA to listen to him talk those days. I mean, it was an inspiration. I never met him. I looked up every night, 9 p.m. to listen to him. So there are several young Nigerians who are interesting persons, hardworking persons who want things to be done in the real sense. So you look out for those, and that's why we give it to Obasanjo anytime, any day. Forget whatever you have against him. Look at somebody who had. Can you imagine how he brought people like Ngozo Okonjo-Iweala, brought people like Batinaji, brought people like Obese Kwesili, and several other technocrats, El-Rufai. Brought them together, assembled them, and in all fairness, those guys, they brought in innovation that was driving things.
You mentioned one name now, and that name is El-Rufai. Are you also saying that El-Rufai is an outdated, experienced technocrat?
No. El-Rufai is a smart guy.
Okay.
You forget about his tendencies.
Okay.
But he is a very intelligent guy.
Okay.
You can't take that from him.
Okay.
He's intelligent, and he's a guy who has capacity.
Now let's move on. Let's talk about the followers. We've talked about leadership. Now it's time for the followers and this idea of gullibility. So you look at it from this angle, gullibility or circumstance. John, the term gullibility can feel like a judgment. But the question now is, are African followers gullible, or are they trapped by circumstances?
That's a very serious question. It's a very serious question because I'm an African, you're an African.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm not gullible. But sometimes circumstances, can put us in a point where we have no choice to make. You see, because the man who controls what you eat, controls how much you get, controls your security, controls everything around you, is a powerful man. He decides when you have light and when you don't have it. Decide whether you have good road and when you don't have good road. Decide now that they will not pay university lecturers so that they can shut down, your children can come back home, whereas their own children are abroad or in private schools in Nigeria. So such a man is a powerful man. So you are forced to just keep quiet and follow, like a sheep going to the place of slaughter.
Zombie. All right.
Yes, sir. So, but if we eventually have a revolution that gives power to the people, indeed, and the politicians are the one at the mercy of the people, that's when you can have a real change.
All right, let's look at this story. Imagine Sarah, a market trader in Nigeria. She's a single mother, barely making ends meet. During the 2023 election, a politician offers Sarah 5,000 naira to vote for him. She takes it, not because she believes his promises, but because she needs to buy food. 2 years later, nothing has changed. No jobs, no good roads. John, is Sarah gullible, or is the system failing her?
Yeah, you see, let me say that she's not gullible.
Okay.
It's just that Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of need perceive that survivor is the first thing that happens to every man. Every man needs to eat, he needs a place to live, he needs a house to put up with. And so if somebody is not able to eat, he doesn't have what to wear, doesn't have shelter, if you give him those things, he will see you as God forever. That's what we're saying. However, if you have a liberated mind, people who are, that's why we are championing and campaigning for a critical mass of Nigerians to be literate. Because people can now look at the short-term pain as against the long-term benefit. There's no amount of money you can give me that can make me vote for the wrong person. Not because I'm wealthy, not because I have all the money, but because I know that this short-term benefit is to mortgage my future. And that's why you will hear some of us say, we'd rather die standing than live on our knees. It means that I've come to a place of consciousness where I know I cannot salvage this situation by taking these 10,000 naira, taking these 20,000 naira. I remember one time I was a party agent, and I was I was almost killed in that election because they brought money in the morning. I said no, I won't take money. They knew I was inflation in that place. Then in the evening they mobilized boys to come, and they were coming actually to take me out. I had information, then I had to I had to run away from that space. That's the point. So you see that, whereas several other persons collected it, 50,000 naira, 100,000 naira. I mean, you spend it within 2 days and it's over. Then you continue that suffering for another 4 years.
Well, that's a tactics by the political class.
Exactly.
Okay, so and that is there's also this issue of political literacy. You talked about literacy, and if people don't have access to education or unbiased information, how can they then challenge these political tactics?
Chike, unfortunately, we're in a world that things have changed. You do not need to go to the four walls of the university to learn. It's just being curious. If you're curious, you will know things. The United Nations definition of literacy is anybody who is able to read, write, and understand. It is not about having university education. To be able to say, this thing is wrong, I'm not going to do it. So again, the media, the civil society needs a lot of campaign against this so that people can realize that we can't change in Nigeria doing sit down look. We must get involved. We must get involved using your social media constructively. And that's why, when you see people talk on social media, on Twitter, for instance, on Apex, people think, these guys are saying too much. These guys are dragging this person too much. 20 years ago, it was not so. They would have gone away with it.
It's some consciousness.
So they are building their consciousness. People are getting to know that this is not right. You can't mortgage the future of over 250 million Nigerians. So, so do every means to get informed.
So basically, it's a vicious cycle. Poverty, division, and lack of education. It makes these followers vulnerable, right?
True. Very true.
Let's take a quick break and then dive into the historical roots of this issue. Stick around. Don't go away. Well, welcome back from that break. In case you're just joining us, I have Johnny Zuchukwu in the studio here discussing leadership failure and the role of followers in Africa. Well, let's go back in time. How much of this problem stems from our colonial past, John?
That's a very serious matter. Because colonialism destroyed a lot of things. And like a very erudite scholar, PPAK would say, he wrote a very beautiful piece, Colonialism and the Two Publics. And he summarized it as saying, this GRA thing, where you have the ordinary people living in ordinary places and there's a government reserve area for the elite. That was the creation of colonialism. Before colonialism, we were all living together. There was no such a thing. When the colonialists came, they built certain places for themselves. And when they were going, that's the model the political elite they handed over to now continue to build. Colonialism is why you have the Tutsis and the Hutus killed each other. Over 800,000 of them died mercilessly. Colonialism is why you have what has happened in places like Liberia is still colonialism. What's happening today in most of these African countries having serious conflict,
South Sudan,
is still colonialism.
Somalia.
So they came and redesigned our borders, came and made persons who were brothers and sisters, made them enemies because they promoted certain persons and made them feel as if they are better than this other group of persons. They came and introduced very terrible tribal segregation. However, our past is wicked. But I am of the opinion we cannot continue to cry about what colonialism has done to us. We have grown and we have been of age. We should redesign and redefine our future. We should redesign and redefine our future as a people, as a continent. You know, and I find solace with the kind of leadership Madiba provided for Africa, for South Africa, and by extension for the rest of Africa. We need to come to that point where we know we can't do this. We can be part of the first world. This thinking that Africa, because we are black, our thinking should be black is not true. We are breaking grounds everywhere in the world. Nigerians are breaking ground everywhere in the world. In fact, I saw a statistic that showed, that among those who go to Harvard to acquire, higher degrees in business administration, MBAs, Nigerians took over 25% of them. Nigerians alone. African Americans.
Okay, so because of our time, so the roots are deep. Colonialism, weak institutions, external interference. But is there a way out? Let's talk solutions right now.
There's a way out. And that's why people like Thomas Sankara was championing the African approach to solving Africa problem. Some of us believe, as Pan-African thought leaders like Julius Nyerere, the Kwame Nkrumah, the Zeke of Africa had, opined before now, that if we want Africa to progress, we will not take hook, line, and sinker everything the West has thrown at us. It will redefine even the way we practice religion. It will redefine the way we look at our institutions. Africa has a concept called Ubuntu. It's a concept of, you are my brother. If he's well with me, he's well with you. It was not our idea to be this corrupt, to be self-centered. Individualistic approach and worldview has never been Africa's approach. Communitarianism has been always our approach. It is the West who brought it. And today, it has been part of us. So, if we want to gravitate towards development, what we need to do, basically, is to reevaluate what we have believed over the years. Because your belief will determine what you do. Your belief system, your values will determine the direction of your life. So, what do we believe as Africans? We have always believed that the West is superior. So, when our children finish school, we send them abroad to go learn better because they are superior. Instead of us to build our own knowledge, indigenous knowledge system that can help us drive our economy. Today, in some part of Africa now, Swahili is now the official language for even learning and teaching and learning.
Yeah.
So they're trying to build a knowledge system that is indigenous. So you can interpret life from the perspective of your mother language. It will help us in driving towards the
And for followers, how do we empower people like the Sarah that I just gave her story, our trader?
What we can tell her is to know that you cannot mortgage your future because of short-term profit.
Based on circumstances?
Yes. Even at that, you can't mortgage the future of your own children. Chike, I want to see a future where my children can have better privileges than I have. Where you can graduate and get a job without traveling abroad. Live in this country, do well, and serve your nation. So, my position is that you cannot, Sarah should not give up this short-term benefit for long-term suffering. She can bear it so that her children can live to enjoy her struggles.
Okay. Well, and that's a wrap for today's agenda. Thank you, John Izuchukwu, for your insights. Yes, strong words there. Well, before we go, let's envision an Africa where leaders build, not destroy, and where followers hold them accountable. It starts with us. Let's keep this conversation going. Do follow us on all our social media platforms: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. The handle is @Dominion Broadcast. And on the app X, it is @DominionCast. You can visit our website at www.dominion.org.ng. My name is Chike Ubogu. Stay positive and best wishes.